The morning was quiet on the ranch, the kind of stillness that only comes from acres of open land and a man who valued his peace more than anything. Samuel had bought the property years ago after returning from deployments most people couldn't even imagine. To him, the land was a sanctuary, rolling fields, a private pond, and a cabin he built with his own hands. It was the place where he could breathe, where no one could tell him what to do. Or so he thought. For weeks now, he had noticed strange letters showing up in his mailbox. The envelopes had the fancy letterhead of a local homeowners association, even though he knew full well his land didn't fall under their jurisdiction. He wasn't in their neighborhood, his ranch bordered it, but he was on his own deeded land. Still, the letters insisted he owed fees, demanded he comply with war regulations, and even threatened fines. Samuel tossed them in the trash. He'd seen intimidation before, and this was just a suburban version of it. But that morning, something different happened. A dark SUV pulled up near his front gate, followed by a second one. 4 men stepped out, all dressed in black with badges clipped to their belts. Their jackets read, Law Enforcement Division. It was laughable, but Samuel's instincts kicked in. He'd dealt with fake police before in combat zones, people who used intimidation and uniforms to get compliance. This was no different. One of the men, a tall guy with a shaved head, shouted across the fence. Mr. Green, you're under arrest for failing to pay your HOA fees. Step outside immediately with your hands visible. Samuel leaned against his porch railing, calm as ever. He didn't move. You boys rehearsed that in the mirror, huh? He called back. His voice was steady, measured. You're not cops, and you have no authority here. You're trespassing. The man scowled. We're authorized by the association to enforce compliance. You've ignored notices, so now it's come to this. He motioned for the others to spread out. 2 flanked the gate, while another tried to circle toward the side of the property. Samuel's eyes narrowed. Every movement, every sloppy tactic, he noted with the precision that had been drilled into him through years of service. These weren't professionals. They were suburban bullies playing dress-up, but dangerous enough if left unchecked. He stepped off the porch slowly, hands visible but confidence radiating off him. Let me make this simple for you, he said, walking toward the gate. You're on my land, you're impersonating law enforcement, and if you don't leave in the next 60 seconds, you're going to regret ever putting on those cheap jackets. The leader laughed, though there was a nervous edge to it. You don't scare us. We deal with deadbeats like you all the time. We're here to take you in. That word, deadbeat, hit Samuel harder than they realized. He'd given decades of his life to his country, spilled blood in places that weren't even on most maps, carried brothers home on his shoulders. And here were 4 wannabe cops accusing him of being some freeloader. He clenched his jaw, but kept his cool. Take me in where? Samuel asked. You got a holding cell in your clubhouse. Gonna cuff me with zip ties next to the pool. The other men shifted uneasily. They weren't expecting resistance, especially not calm resistance. Most people they tried to intimidate probably panicked, handed over money, or begged them not to take action. Samuel wasn't giving them an inch. One of the men, younger and clearly nervous, spoke up. Look, man, just come with us and this can get sorted out. The board doesn't like people who don't pay. You're making it worse on yourself. Samuel stopped at the fence, just a few feet from them now. His presence alone was enough to make the younger one step back. The man carried himself like someone who had been through fire and came out unburned. His posture, the sharpness of his gaze, even the way his breathing stayed controlled, it unsettled them. You don't have jurisdiction here, Samuel said quietly, but with steel in his tone. And you sure as hell don't have authority over me. What you do have is about 30 seconds before I call the real sheriff out here. And when he shows up, you'll be facing felony charges for impersonating officers. The leader's smirk faltered. He hadn't expected Samuel to push back, much less threaten them with actual law. We were within our rights, he stammered, though the conviction in his voice was fading. Samuel tilted his head, studying them. His special forces training told him exactly how this would go if they tried to get physical. He could disarm the leader in 2 moves, disable the man on his left with a single strike, and neutralize the others before they even knew what hit them. But he didn't want it to come to that, unless they forced his hand. Let me tell you something, Samuel said, stepping even closer, his voice dropping low. The men you're trying to strong-arm I'm not one of them. I've been places you couldn't survive 5 minutes in. I've dealt with people far more dangerous than you. And if you try to lay a hand on me, you'll wish you never left your cul-de-sac this morning." There was silence. Even the birds seemed to stop chirping. The men glanced at each other, unsure. The leader's bravado was crumbling. Finally, he barked, "We'll be back. The HOA doesn't let anyone ignore the rules. You can't hide behind your land forever." Samuel gave a humorless smile. "Try me, and next time you step foot on my property, you won't just be facing me. You'll be facing the law, and I'll make sure every last one of you is held accountable." The SUV's engines started up again, tires crunching against gravel as they backed away from his gate. Samuel watched them go, arms crossed, mind already working. He knew this wasn't over. People like that didn't just give up after being challenged. But what they didn't know, what they couldn't know, was that they'd just picked a fight with someone who had spent his entire life dismantling threats far greater than a fake HOA police squad. He wasn't just a veteran. He was still in special forces, still active when called, still trained to handle missions no one could talk about. And if they came back, they'd be walking into a trap they couldn't begin to imagine. For now, Samuel turned and walked back up to his porch. He poured himself a coffee, sat in his chair, and let the quiet settle again. The land was his fortress, and he was ready for whatever came next.